Well, hello and welcome to this English lesson where I'm going to talk about pet peeves. I'm going to talk about some of the things that might annoy you in life. I have done previous lessons on this, but I think because human beings sometimes aggravate each other a lot, sometimes we annoy each other a lot, there's actually a lot of pet peeves to talk about when you do a topic like this. So we'll get started on this lesson in just a moment. Before we do, I do want to say hello to everyone who is watching, and I want to do a quick check to make sure that everything is working. It sounds like everything is working, and it looks like everything is working. I want to give a huge shout out to Brent from American English with this guy, who's joining us probably just for a little bit before he heads off to class, unless he has a holiday already, in which case I would be jealous. Hi to Panthera Nori, hi to Lolly Lolly and Norma and Rachel Ting. Hi to Dave and Todd, who are here to moderate the chat. Hi to Seo Wu, who is here as well. And I forget who I've said hi to. Big hi to Rod as well. By the way, Rod and I had a nice chat on Skype this week. And we're planning a little something. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but Rod from Rod VIP IDP, who's in the chat. Good to see you here, and I look forward to talking to you again next Tuesday. Maybe I've said too much now, but let's get started. Hey, one thing before we do, though, please make sure you use the chat for English conversations only. If you have a question and it's about the topic, if it's about the topic of pet peeves, please use the form that will be shared to ask that question, and I will be happy to try and answer it. So, once again, I do want to say hi to people in the chat. Hi to Key Park. Hi to Bikram. Hi to Riza. Hi to Forhad. Hi to Zeev. So many of you here. Awesome to see you. But let's get started. The first pet peeve is this. People who borrow things all the time. I'm not going to mention who in my life borrows things from me all the time, but you might have a friend. You might have a brother or sister. You might have someone in your family who often calls and says, hey, can I borrow your saw? Or can I borrow a hammer? Or can I borrow, sorry, just let me do something here. There we go. Or can I borrow something from you? And you might say, okay, but then you're worried because you're not sure if they'll take care of it or if they'll use it well. In North America, in Canada in particular, people often borrow tools. But some people borrow things far too often. At a certain point, they should just buy their own thing, okay? It's nice to share. It's nice to let other people use your things. But at a certain point, if someone is borrowing things so much that it starts to bother you, it might be time for them to maybe buy their own saw. So anyways, tools are a common thing. And one thing that can bother you, one thing that can annoy you in life is if someone borrows things too much. And then tied into that, people who borrow things and don't return them. So remember, we are talking about things that bother you in life. We call those pet peeves in English. One of my pet peeves is when someone borrows something from me. I don't mind if they borrow it, but a pet peeve of mine is when they borrow it and then they don't return it. This is an empty toolbox. I'm not sure if you can see that very well in the picture. This is the toolbox of someone who has lent out a lot of their tools and people haven't returned them. So let's talk for a second about the verb to borrow and the verb to lend. If my brother has a really nice car, I can borrow the car from him. If you reverse your point of view, we would say that my brother lent his car to me. So borrow and lend sometimes get confused. When I lend something to someone, it means I own it and I let them use it. If someone borrows something from me, it means that they've asked me if they can take whatever I have and use it. So just a quick lesson about borrow and lend. Let's go to the next one. If you live in a country that has insects, especially flies and mosquitoes, these may be two things that really, really bother you. You just might hate flies and mosquitoes. I, in particular, do not like mosquitoes. in Ontario, Canada, we have many, many mosquitoes, and it's quite annoying. We actually have something that we spray on ourselves called Off. It's a special spray, and then you smell really bad, but the mosquitoes stay away. I also don't like flies. We sometimes in the summer have a lot of flies in our house. In fact, sometimes a fly joins the live stream. I know some of you have noticed that in the past, that while I'm doing a live stream, sometimes a fly will come and visit and it will land on my head, and it's very, very annoying. In fact, during one of, I think the first presidential debate, no, the vice presidential debate, I think a fly kept landing on the one person's head during the debate. So, people who click their pen repeatedly. I don't have a clicky pen here. Just a sec. Hey, Jen, can you get me a pen that clicks? So sometimes when you're in a class, someone will have a pen that clicks, and they'll sit and they'll click the pen while they're listening. Jen's actually seeing if she can find a pen for me. So here's a clicky pen. This is actually from Preply, by the way. Thanks, Preply, for the pen. So you might be in a class and someone sits like that while you're trying to learn. You'll just hear, that drives me crazy. By the way, you'll notice I'm using a lot of phrases to express frustration. I'm saying things like, it's really annoying, it's really frustrating, it drives me crazy. Do you want me to do it one more time? I once had a class in university and someone sat at the back, and during the entire lecture, they clicked their pen. It was very, very annoying. People who stare. Sometimes when you go to the mall or when you go to the train station, when you're in a public place, there are people who just sit and they just stare at you. And it can be a little bit unsettling. It can be a little bit annoying. It can be something that you just don't like, something that bothers you a lot. But sometimes you'll go somewhere and a person will just sit and stare at you. And you just want to say to them, stop staring at me. It's not polite to stare at people. In almost every culture around the world, it's not polite to stare at people. Let's see here. People who can't sit still. Now, I put a picture here of some children. I don't mind when children can't sit still. When you have children or when you're around children, you just expect them to be a little bit fidgety. So when you can't sit still in your seat, when you have to keep moving, we say that you are fidgeting, or that you're just, sometimes we say you have ants in your pants, but children can't sit still. That's fine with me. But sometimes adults can't sit still either. Maybe you're just sitting in the evening and you want to watch a nice television show, and the person who you live with is just moving all the time. They're getting up and sitting down, and they're constantly moving. That can be not relaxing for you when someone does that. So people who can't sit still. Tall people who sit in front of you. So another thing that can drive you crazy is if you go to a class, or maybe you go to a movie, and a really tall person all of a sudden comes along and sits down right in front of you, kind of blocking your view of whatever's happening at the front. It's not the tall person's fault. You can't decide how tall you want to be, but sometimes, especially for me, when I'm at a theater, I'll sit down and I'll have a really good view of the screen and I'll be really happy. And then all of a sudden, a tall person will come and sit right in front of me. And then I feel like I can't really see the screen. So not always the most enjoyable thing. Hey, let's look at a few questions. Let me just check to see if we have questions available. Usually there are some questions. Let me see if the first one's ready to go. Let's see here. This is from Rod, VIP IDP. Hi, Rod. Good morning, Mr. Bob. I hope you're well. Lately, my biggest pet peeve is loud children, my own, mostly while I'm working. Do you agree? Have a great Friday. Well, certainly, Rod, the pandemic has caused new pet peeves for people. And one of the new pet peeves is when adults are trying to work at home, but the children are playing or making noise or just being loud in the vicinity. So in the area where you're working. So Rod, I would 100% agree with you. This is a brand new type of pet peeve. Well, not brand new, but certainly new for a lot of people. And I would 100% agree. By the way, everyone, Rod and I talked earlier this week, and we have something planned for about a week and a half from now. I don't want to give away too many details, but Rod is an English teacher in Brazil, and Rod runs a small school, teaches online, teaches many students, and we've been talking on Tuesdays, and I'm not going to say anymore, but Rod and I have a little something planned. Let me see here. Next question is from Renata. Hey Bob, how are you doing this morning? I'm doing good, Renata. My only pet peeve ever is when people are disrespectful and rude to other people. Have a great day, sir. I would agree. This is probably one of my biggest pet peeves. Although I am guilty sometimes of being rude to people. I try not to be, but sometimes when you're in a hurry, sometimes it's easy to not be kind. Hope that made sense. But Renata, yes, I would agree. One of my pet peeves as well is when you see someone having a conversation and you see that they are being disrespectful to someone else. Hey, let me pause and check my audio here. Looks like everything is working. I do want to say hi to the 331 people who are watching. Hi, everybody. If you're new here, I'm Bob the Canadian. I teach English here on YouTube. If you want, you can click that subscribe button over there. I hope I'm pointing to the right side. I think I am. There's a red subscribe button there. If you click it, you become a subscriber of the channel and you get notified when I make a new English lesson. Let's see here. Next question is from Modine. Mr. Bob, how's your day been going so far? It's been going good, Modine. Although on Friday mornings, I need to get up and at it a lot faster. This morning, I hit the snooze button once, and then I was kind of in a rush the rest of the morning, getting ready to do this live stream. What pet peeves did you have as a child that don't bother you anymore? Little correction there. And what pet peeves do you hate, but you also commit? Many thanks. So one of the ones I think I do is we have a water jug in the fridge. And sometimes I drink water and the jug's empty and I put it back in the fridge empty. So that's one of the things that bothers me, but I also commit. I also do that myself. Pet peeve as a child would be when my brothers and sisters didn't want to play the same game as me. I often wanted to play a certain game and I wanted my brothers and sisters to play with me. And sometimes they wouldn't. They would read books or do other things. So that would be one of my pet peeves. Next question from SL Lenka. Hi, Bob. Bane of my existence and pet peeves. Both are the same? Question mark. So they're similar. They both refer to something that bothers you. It refers to something that frustrates you. But I would say pet peeves are rather simple things. They're small things in life that bother you. The bane of your existence is usually like a major thing in your life that really bothers you. You could say like, oh, my boss is the bane of my existence. So definitely they mean similar things. We're talking about things that bother you. But for sure, pet peeves are little things. The bane of your existence is something a little more, just a little bigger for sure. Next question from Athanasios. Hello, dear teacher. How are you? I'm good. To the best of your recollection, what was one of the most annoying things you had ever experienced as a child? Actually, I'm going to fix that a little bit. What is one of the most annoying things you have ever experienced as a child? Yeah, I think we could say both. Thanks. I think there was a time where, this is going to sound kind of funny, but I was in grade 6. So I was about 10 or 11 years old. And all of my friends bought a pocket knife. You know what a pocket knife is? It's like a folding knife. And then they said I had to buy a little pocket knife, a little jackknife too. Otherwise, I couldn't be part of the group anymore. So I just said, fine, I don't want to be part of the group. But one of the most annoying things I think that happened to me as a child was when friends were mean. It's not nice when you're friends with someone and then they do something mean. And when you're a kid, kids do mean things sometimes to each other. Kids are not always the nicest people in the world. That's next question. Mateus says, "Does stupidity annoy you, Mr. Bob?" It's hard to say. Let me say what I think. Here's what annoys me. If someone has trouble learning something, if someone isn't, let's just say, super smart, that does not bother me at all. I think everyone, if they take time and they practice, they can learn anything. What bothers me is when I have to tell someone something twice, okay? A good example of this would be if a student at school is not wearing their mask properly, and I say, put your mask on properly. It needs to cover your nose and mouth. And then if I see them the next day and they're wearing their mask wrong again, that bothers me. Whenever I have to tell someone something twice, that really, really annoys me. Yes, for sure. That is an annoying thing for me. I do not like telling people things twice at all. That definitely bothers me. Let's get back to the lesson. So I admitted earlier that I'm somewhat guilty of this one. For some people, a pet peeve is when someone finishes all of the milk, or they finish all of the orange juice, or they drink all of the water, and they put an empty jug back in the fridge. Instead of maybe going out and buying a new jug, instead of with our water jug, we can refill the water jug. Instead of refilling it, they just put an empty jug back in the fridge. That is definitely someone's pet peeve. When I was in university, I lived with 3 roommates and we bought milk and bread together. So we bought our own food, but we shared milk and bread and eggs, and we took turns buying those things. So sometimes it would be someone else's turn to buy milk, and there would just be an empty milk jug in the fridge. That really bothered me. I did not like that at all. Let's see here. Oh, this might be very North American, but this might be universal around the world. For some people, their pet peeve is when the toilet paper roll is hung the wrong way. I know this sounds like a pretty tiny problem, but if you look to on this picture, there is the toilet paper where the paper hangs in front and the toilet paper roll where it hangs close to the wall. And people either like it one way or the other. So if you like your toilet paper roll in the bathroom with the roll hanging off the front, if someone hangs it this other way, it will really, really bother you. And then vice versa. In English, when we say vice versa, we mean the opposite is also true, or the opposite is also something that bothers people. So having the toilet paper roll hung the wrong way can be very, very aggravating for people. In fact, some people will switch the toilet paper roll to be the way they like it if they see that it's the wrong way. Let's see here. I'm waiting to see the chat and to see if other people comment on this one. People who don't read instructions. So this is something that bothers me. When I buy something from IKEA is a large furniture store all over the world. When I buy something from IKEA, I like to read the instructions before I try to assemble it. I try to make sure that I understand how to put all the pieces together. Some people open the box, they take the instructions and they throw them away, and they just try to build the furniture without instructions. When I buy a new piece of electronics, I read the manual from front to back. I love reading instructions, and so it really bothers me when people don't read instructions at all. Let's see here. I just want to pop down to the chat and say, oh, Shea asks, how do you deal with students who disrespect you in class? I just talk to them. Usually I try to make sure that students and I understand each other. And I usually just try to explain the rule over and over again, patiently, until they listen to me. So, and then if they don't, I usually send them to go talk to the principal of the school. Um, this may or may not be a pet peeve for you, but in North America, when you have food on the table, it's not considered polite to dip your food in, take a bite, and then dip again. It's called double dipping. Double dipping is something that really bothers some people, especially right now because of COVID. So again, if you're eating chips and you have salsa or some other kind of dip, if you take a chip and you dip it in the salsa and you take a bite, you are not supposed to dip it again. It's called double dipping. My children sometimes double dip when they're eating salsa with chips. You could also do this with naans. You can do this with pitas, any kind of bread or chip where you dip it into something. It can really bother people if you double dip. And definitely right now during this pandemic, you should not be double dipping. You shouldn't touch food to your mouth and then touch something like a bowl of salsa again. Sorry, my nose is just a little bit itchy, so I just need to, there we go. I think it should be fine now. Let's see here. This is a funny one. If you were to ask one of my pet peeves, I might mention this one. I might mention that when people come to visit and when they stay too long, in English we say that you overstay your welcome. So a normal visit, if someone came to visit me, if someone came to have supper, they would probably come an hour before supper. We would sit down and enjoy supper. We would probably clean up the dishes together. Often guests will help you do the dishes. And then we would probably sit in our living room or outside for a few more hours. But sometimes around 9 or 10 o'clock at night, if I have someone over for dinner, at around 9 or 10 o'clock at night, I'm waiting for them to leave. They have stayed long enough. But some people don't know when to leave. Some people stay way too long. So people who stay too long when they visit is another pet peeve of mine. And I'm sure it's a pet peeve of some of you as well. Let me see here. I just want to check something. I think everything's going good. Yes, there we go. The hiccups. I had this the other night. I was watching the news, and all of a sudden I went, sorry, I can't make a fake hiccup. It's hard, but you know what the hiccups are. It's an involuntary action that your stomach and lungs make, and it sounds like, in English, we call those the hiccups. When I get the hiccups, they do not go away very quickly. Sometimes I have the hiccups for an hour, and it's not a very nice feeling. By the way, we also use the word hiccup to talk about a problem that comes up that you weren't expecting. So you could say, he got the job, but he had a few hiccups on his first day. That would mean that there were a few things that didn't go well on his first day at work. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, I don't want to talk about this one for too long. I think you know what the English word fart is. One of my pet peeves is I do not like it when people fart in public. I know you're all adults and you do not experience this, but when you are around teenagers like I am in a school, sometimes someone will fart in a public space and it smells and it's disgusting. And I do not like it. So that is something that really, really bothers me. I know that none of you ever do that. Okay, when you eat cold food and you get brain freeze. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but when you eat ice cream or when you drink something really cold, your brain can hurt all of a sudden. It's like a really fast headache. And in English, we call that brain freeze. It often happens when you eat ice cream on a hot day. And if you eat it too quickly, all of a sudden you just get this really sharp pain in the front part of your brain. And in English, we call that brain freeze. I hate that feeling. I do not like the feeling of having brain freeze. It is not a nice feeling at all. It's definitely something that bothers me and annoys me. So in the summer, when I do eat ice cream sometimes, I try to eat it very slowly so that I don't get brain freeze. Let's see here. Let's do a few more slides and then I'll jump back to the questions. People who don't use headphones. So in my previous lesson on pet peeves, by the way, I'll try to put a link up there if I remember to do that. I talked about people who play loud music from their cars with the windows down. Another thing that can bother people is when people listen to music really loudly in a public place, and they should just use headphones. Sometimes this happens where you're in an airport lobby or you're waiting somewhere and someone will just have really loud music on and you're trying to read a book or you're trying to have a little nap. It's just not very nice when people play loud music instead of just putting some headphones on or using some earbuds. I see in the chat a few people mentioning that they didn't know the term brain freeze. Yes, it's not a nice feeling. I think everyone knows what brain freeze is, as in you've experienced a brain freeze, but not everyone probably knew the English term for it. I feel bad because I put a picture of an old person here. That wasn't very nice, but sometimes people in front of you walk too slow. Sometimes when you're walking, maybe you get off the bus and you need to get on the subway and you're trying to walk really fast and people in front of you are just walking really slow. It's probably not their fault. It's like when I said you get annoyed with a tall person. It's not the tall person's fault that they're tall. But still, sometimes when you go walking or when you're in a hurry, there are people who walk too slow in front of you, and that's not very nice, especially when you know you're going to miss your train or you're going to miss your bus. So this is a new one. People who don't wear a mask. So right now, if I was doing this lesson a year ago, I would not have mentioned this one. But right now, this is a huge pet peeve for some people in the world. It's a pet peeve for me. I like it when everyone wears their mask. I don't like it when someone constantly takes their mask off in order to talk to people, or when I see two people talking and they have their mask hanging from their ear like this lady does. It's just not very polite. It's not very considerate. When you do something that's considerate, it means that it's nice for the people around you. So people who don't wear masks, that's definitely one of my pet peeves right now. By the way, have you noticed that most pet peeves are about what people do? Very few pet peeves are about things that happen to you. Maybe your pet peeve is that your neighbor's dog barks, so you might be annoyed with the dog. But generally, most pet peeves are things that other people do that annoy you. People who say they are going to do something and don't. So this is probably, are all these my pet peeves? Maybe they are. This is one of my pet peeves, definitely. I get very annoyed when people say they're going to do something and then they don't do it. So you phone a place and you say, I'd like to order this, and then it doesn't come. Or when someone says, oh, I'll definitely get that done and bring it to your house tomorrow, and then they don't show up. So this is also similar to people who don't show up on time. That's another one of my pet peeves. But certainly people who say they are going to do something and then they don't do it, that is definitely a pet peeve of mine. Let me see here. I'm going to make a small switch here. Just give me 1 second. For some reason, things have changed. Live chat. Let's see if I did this right. We should see. There we go. I did it right. Sorry, they changed the settings in YouTube. But thank you to all of you who are members. During the next 10 minutes, members can ask questions about the lesson in the chat. If you want to be a member, there is a join button below that you can click and you can help support my channel. You also get some perks. You get some cool things that you normally don't get, like an extra video on a Wednesday, as well as a green name in the chat during live streams and a small crown. Sorry, I'm a little flustered because I didn't know where the button was. When people change things, that could also be a pet peeve. So when I go on my control panel, I couldn't find the button. Anyways, let's see here. Panthera Nori earlier commented it's really annoying and disturbing when people, actually usually older people, they're going to stop right at the end. Oh, when they stop right at the end of the escalator. Yes. So you're all riding up the escalator and then someone gets off. So the escalator, that's a set of moving stairs. And then someone gets to the top and stops and maybe starts to look around. And then all the other people kind of get blocked behind them. And Panthera Nori says it can be really dangerous. Yes, for sure. Key Park, talking on the phone loudly or sitting cross legs in the subway. Those are the pet peeves for me. And touching my laptop screen with my finger drives me crazy. When I look at a computer screen that has fingerprints all over it, Key Park, that really annoys me as well. Let's see here. Furskin, by the way, Furskin, you left a really great comment on my other channel the other day. That was awesome. Hello, Teacher Bob. What bothers me the most these days is my uncertainties about the future. Do you have any advice for coping with such bothersome feelings? Thank you. No, because I have the same feelings, Furskin. It's hard for me right now because COVID worries me a lot. I don't want to get COVID. I feel like I have a few health conditions where if I got COVID, I might get really sick. So I try to just live day by day right now. In fact, we have a phrase in English, bury yourself in your work. I think I bury myself in my work when I'm stressed. I work a lot on YouTube. I do a lot of work at school. So I don't know if it's good advice, but you can certainly bury yourself in your work. That's probably bad advice, but it does help a little bit, I think. Let's see here. Rachel Ting says, hi, Bob. What is the meaning of who cut the cheese? Rachel, that simply means that the room smells because someone farted. And so you're asking who farted. So I'm not going to talk too much about farting. It's not the nicest topic, but that's what who cut the cheese means. Sam the Taiwanese. Hi, Teacher Bob. Hi, Sam. Have you ever been woken up by the noise of mosquitoes while you were sleeping? Yes, it is very annoying. And then I would immediately open my eyes to seek where those mosquitoes are and then beat them, whatever, no matter how sleepy I am. Yes, I've had that. You can hear a mosquito in the dark and you're just trying to figure out where it is. Very, very annoying. Xiu says, when the vending machine is out at work, it ate my money. Oh, yes. So when we say a vending machine eats your money, it means you went to buy chips or candy or a chocolate bar or a drink and you put money in and then nothing comes out. So we would say the vending machine ate my money. That is very annoying. Lolly Lolly says, my pet peeve is when someone is chewing gum and making noise. Yes, that chewing sound can be very, very annoying. Rod says, Mr. Bob, I'm sorry, but it was really funny. So what's the expression for someone who farts and denies it? Also, when people crack their knuckles, that kills me. Oh yeah, I don't like that either. Sometimes people they'll make a cracking sound with their hands. I don't like that. Rod, we have an expression in English. If someone says who farted, we sometimes say whoever smelt it dealt it. So basically what that means is if you're the first person to ask who farted, people think that you're the one who did it. So anyways, let's stop talking about farts. Panthera Nori says, Teacher Bob, can you use the word indignant after describing some of these pet peeves? The way that you become indignant because of them. Yes, you definitely can. So when you're indignant, it's like a state of righteous anger where you feel like you're allowed to be angry. Annette Menzie says, one of my annoying things is when people have behaviors which show that they don't think about others or that they ignore others. Yes, for sure. You can see this with mask wearing right now. You can see it with how people drive sometimes. So sometimes you'll drive and you're driving a little bit over the speed limit, but someone will pass you going 50 or 60 kilometers over the speed limit. So you see things that people do that really, really bother you. Let me see here. Let me get to another question. Sorry, I have to reread this one. Saleh Abid says, an ant enters the house with me. How do I prevent him? Oh, how do I stop him from getting in without killing him? I don't know what to do with ants. Ants are very small insects. We have ants in our house. We put out what are called ant traps where the ants eat something and then it does make them die. Sorry. But I don't know what the solution is for keeping ants out of your house. But ants are very, very annoying. Natalia, these are my pet peeves because of the circumstances nowadays. Just a little correction there. People who do not maintain social distance, yes, stay 2 meters away from me, please. And then people who cough in my direction. And then 3, I have to work from home. So I would say that I have the same concerns. The same things are annoying for me, Natalia. I don't like it when people get in my space right now. I feel like please stay 2 meters away. Please stay at a safe distance. I don't like it when people cough towards me. In fact, right now, I don't like it when people cough at all. It's very worrisome. And then I get to go to work, and I work at home on Wednesdays. So I actually like working at home 1 day a week, but I don't like working at home every day. So hopefully that doesn't happen anytime soon. Let me just check something here. Oop. Good. Everything is still working great. Let me get to the next question here. Annette from Quebec. Hi, Teacher Bob. I hope all is going well for you. What is the difference between to annoy and to bother? Thank you very much for your lessons. So there are several phrases that we use to express a pet peeve or something that bothers us. We could say it bothers me, it annoys me, it frustrates me, it's aggravating, I hate it when. There are many ways to describe annoying things, and they're all equal. They're just different ways of doing it. So I could say it annoys me when a fly lands on me during a live stream. I could say it bothers me when a fly lands on me during a live stream. Both would be equally correct for sure. Let's see here. Ruslan. Hello, Teacher Bob. Hi, Ruslan. Good to see you again. How are you doing these days? Pretty good. That's how I would answer that. What's the most annoying thing you see when you go outside or at the supermarket in Canada? Best wishes, dear teacher. I think outside would be, let me see. I think when people drive erratically, I think I've mentioned that already, but when people drive too fast, when I walk along the side of the road, and usually people, when they're coming towards me in their car, they see me walking and they move over a little bit, but some people actually get close to me and I have to move off the road. That really bothers me. At the grocery store, right now, I don't like it when people take food and look at it and decide they don't want it. Because when people touch stuff right now, I feel like they should just buy it because I don't want them to touch things and then put it back. That's not something that I think is a good idea right now. Let's see. Sarah, I'm not quite sure. When someone wants to make people alone, what is she called? I'm not sure what you're asking there. Let me think about that a bit. When someone wants to make people alone or see people alone, I'm not sure, Sarah. Sorry. Maybe try to figure out another way to ask that question and put it in the comments below. The next question is not on topic, so let me see. Let's see. Pratt Yuusha says, hi, Teacher Bob. Hello. My most annoying and guilty thing is when I can't make good conversations in English. I would not worry about that. And don't be too annoyed with yourself. On my other channel, I think I taught the phrase today, don't beat yourself up about it. So don't be annoyed with yourself. Pet peeves shouldn't be about things that you do badly. So if you feel like you don't have good English conversations, just be proud of the fact that you are learning English and try your best to do some good English speaking in the future. Let's see here. Panthera says, boss about or boss around, do they means you behave like a dictator? Yes. We usually say to boss someone around, Panthera Nori. We say, oh, he likes to boss his friends around, or like my one child likes to boss around my other children. So yes, it means to behave like a dictator. It means to tell people what to do. Let's see here. Sia Wu says, time flies. It's an interesting lesson. Oh, is it 10 after? Yes, time is flying. And Madi says, I'm sorry about that question. What is the name of the sound coming from underneath people? We're done talking about farts, Madi, if that's what you're asking about. I think we're done talking about it. But hello, Madi. It's good to see you. Maybe you were asking something different. I'm not sure. Let's see here. Ario. Hola, Mr. Bob. Hello, Ario. When someone borrows your car over and over again, what would you say to him or her? So this is a lesson about pet peeves. It's not a lesson where I have solutions. That's a really hard question. I think if you know the person well, you just explain to them, look, you've borrowed my car 5 times this month. Please, I'm not sure I can keep lending it to you. But I know these are difficult things to talk about, right? If someone does something that bothers you, it can be very challenging to talk about it. Let's see here. Let me do one more question and then we'll get back to the lesson. Isam has the question. Good morning, Teacher Bob. How are you? I'm good. What's the difference between bother, upset, disturb? Yeah, so actually it's good. Upset and disturb can also be used to talk about things that bother you. So I could say, it bothers me when people drive over the speed limit. It upsets me when people drive over the speed limit, or I find it disturbing, or it disturbs me when people drive over the speed limit. Let me see here. Let me figure out once again how to turn off the live chat. I think I pushed the right button. We'll find out in a moment. Thank you so much to all of you with the green names in the chat. Thank you for being supporters of my channel. It does really help, by the way, for me to have people who support me. One of the things it does is it lets me create an incredible amount of content on YouTube. So not only do I do live streams, I also make videos. I have a second channel where I do 4 videos a week. I also have a TikTok account. I have an Instagram account. I have Facebook. One of the things that having members allows me to do is it allowed me to work a little bit less and to create a lot more free English content for everyone else. So if you want to support my work, there is a join button down below somewhere. You can click that and maybe read a little more about what you get. But thank you so much to all of you who are members of my channel. Let's get back though to the lesson before time gets away on us. People who read over your shoulder. When I was a kid, I won't say which sibling, but one of my brothers or sisters, I won't tell you who, used to stand behind me and read over my shoulder if I was reading a book. Nowadays, every once in a while, I'll have my phone out and someone will stand behind me and look at my screen. So people who read over your shoulder, or people who look at your phone screen or your computer screen, that's something that can really, really bother people for sure. Yes, people who read over your shoulder. It's not very polite to do that. I think we talked about this one a little bit. People who talk loudly on the phone. So sometimes you're in a public place and someone will, all of a sudden their phone will ring and they'll take their phone out and they'll say, hello, yeah, Bob here. Yeah, how's it going? Oh, pretty good. Awesome. And they'll just start talking really loudly. And maybe you're just trying to have a nap in the airport lobby. Maybe you're trying to read a book, like I said before, and you just have this person talking really, really loudly. Not very polite at all. Oh, this one. When your computer crashes. So I think we've all experienced this at least once in our lives. Sometimes you're working on your computer and all of a sudden the computer just shuts off, or you get an error on the screen like this, and you've lost all your work. So a computer crash is anytime a computer stops working. Sometimes when you're using a certain piece of software, it can crash as well. But this is certainly very, very frustrating. It doesn't happen very often anymore, although it can happen during a live stream. I think my computer crashed during a Zoom meeting recently. That wasn't very nice at all. I was trying to meet with 3 other people and all of a sudden my computer crashed. Not a very nice feeling at all. Let's see here. Quiet talkers. So there are people who talk too loud. I actually talk too loud, especially after a long day of teaching, because I have to talk loud in my classroom. When I get home, sometimes I keep talking loudly. But there are people who don't talk loud enough. There are people who they say something and you're like, pardon? And so they'll say things like, hey, it's early. And then you say, excuse me, I didn't quite hear you. And you're like, excuse me? And then they say, hey, Bob, it's a really good lesson. So people who talk quietly or people who talk too quietly. Let's see here. People who leave the lights on. This might be about my children again, but sometimes my kids go in their room, they turn the light on, they get what they need, and then they leave the room and they leave the lights on. I'm the one who pays the electricity bill. My children, I think that electricity is free sometimes. So they'll go in their room, they'll turn the light on, and then they'll just go to another room and they won't turn the light off. So it's not nice to do that. It is definitely one of my pet peeves. It's a waste of electricity and it costs me money. So I don't want to dwell on this one too much. Tourists are awesome. Tourists are a great source of income for most countries, but sometimes there are just too many tourists. So let me say this. When I visit Niagara Falls, I usually try to go when there aren't a lot of tourists there. I love tourists. It's awesome that people come and visit Canada. You come, you visit the beautiful things we have, you spend money. It's good for our economy. It's good for everybody. You get an enjoyable trip. Our country gets a little bit of money. It's awesome. But sometimes there are so many tourists in Niagara Falls, and maybe in Paris, maybe in Washington, D.C., in some of the popular places to visit, there can be too many, and then it can be a little bit annoying. But generally, tourists are awesome. Let's see here. People who ask questions during a movie. So I think in the last lesson on pet peeves, part 1, I did a lesson, by the way, a year ago on pet peeves. I'll find the link to it. I'll put the link in the first comment below later. But I think it's in the description actually. People who ask questions during a movie. So sometimes you go to a movie theater to watch a movie, or you're at home and you're watching a movie, and the person you are watching it with keeps asking questions. So they say things like, "Who's this guy? Oh, where are they going? Why does that guy have a bag of money? Why are they doing that?" And you're just trying to enjoy the movie. You understand the story, you understand what's going on, and you just have this person beside you constantly asking questions. It can be very, very annoying, and it can be very, very frustrating. Let's go to the next one. Okay, so we had the when the toilet paper roll is hung wrong, in your opinion, but also it can be annoying when there is no toilet paper. When you use a public washroom, washroom is the Canadian word, when you use a public bathroom or a public restroom, sometimes it can be frustrating because all of a sudden you notice there is no toilet paper. The toilet paper is gone. This can be extremely frustrating and extremely awkward and not a nice situation at all. Let's see here. Roommates who hit the snooze button over and over. When I was in university, I had a roommate who would set his alarm, let's say for 6 a.m. I can't remember the exact time. And then his alarm would go off, beep, 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 and he would hit the snooze button and his alarm would go off for 10 minutes. And then 10 minutes later, beep, 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 and he would hit the snooze button. And I think he would do it about 8 or 9 times. And he usually got up before me. So I would be trying to sleep longer and I would constantly hear his alarm going off. It was not a good situation. So if you have roommates and they hit their snooze button over and over again, this can be incredibly frustrating for sure. Let's see here. People who stand too close. So this again is a pet peeve that occurred before the pandemic, but it has become more of a pet peeve now that we are in a pandemic. When people stand too close to me, it can be very frustrating. I think Natalia mentioned this in her question earlier. Please stay 2 meters away from me. I wish everyone in the world was able to do that. But certainly before this pandemic, I also didn't like it when people stood too close to me. But if they were like a meter away, that was fine. If they were less than a meter, that was too close. But now, if someone is within 2 meters of me, that's too close. I don't like that at all. It's definitely one of my pet peeves right now when people stand too close to me. And I'm sure it's a pet peeve for many of you as well. Sorry, I'm just give me a sec here. I'm just reading Talk Italian with Arone's comment. Be real, Bob. You decided to discuss this topic just to indirectly accuse your kids about their bad habits. So that is just making me laugh right now, Arone. That is awesome. Yes, I do the lessons on pet peeves to talk mostly about the people who bother me. This is really a lesson where I just get out all my feelings about the things that are bothering me. There is some truth to that, by the way. So thank you for making me laugh this morning, Arone. That's really cracking me up. Yes, I do the pet peeve lessons. I go a few months and I write down all the things that bother me in life, the things my kids do and my coworkers. Then I do a lesson to talk about it. So that was great. People who bite their nails. So sometimes we talked about someone who clicks a pen a lot, right? Did you notice I'm really good at that? Maybe I'm one of the people that does that too much. I probably am. There's also people who they'll bite their nails, okay? And it doesn't bother me if people bite their nails. What bothers me is if it makes loud noises, if you can hear them biting their nails. That is something that I do not enjoy hearing. It's kind of a funny sound, and it's a funny thing to hear someone biting their nails. Let's see here. I see Rod in the chat laughing as well. So, hey, we're going to go into question mode. Let me pull the questions up again. Yeah, Henry is mentioning people who think it's cool to smoke indoors. Henry, in Canada, you cannot do that anymore. That is completely illegal. I don't even think you're allowed to smoke in a car if there's other people in the car in Canada. So let me see here. I'm going to answer questions now for about 5 minutes. I am only answering questions, though, that are about the lesson. So if I don't answer your question, I'm sorry. It just means it wasn't about pet peeves. Let's see here. Ellen, hi. My pet peeves are about people who borrow money but don't give it back. Just a little correction there, Ellen. This bothers me a lot as well. I don't have this happen very often now. Not a lot of people borrow money from me, but when I was younger, before I was married and when I was out with friends, sometimes a friend would say, hey, I don't have enough money to pay at this restaurant. Can I borrow $20? And then I would wait. And then eventually you would say, hey, are you ever going to pay me back? It's very annoying when people borrow money and then they don't pay you back. Let's see here. How says, is it abnormal if Canadians don't line up when it is necessary? We're pretty good at lining up. I think that Canadians in general are pretty respectful of lines. We often, if we need to line up, we don't cut in line. So if I need to line up, I don't try to go to the front. I think in general, we're pretty good at lining up for sure. Let's see here. Just looking for the questions that have to do with the lesson. Shreya, of course, has not a question, but hey, Bob, no questions today. I just want to thank you. You are an awesome teacher. Thank you. You are very, very welcome. That is absolutely no problem. I should say hi to the 508 people watching and tell them, hey, you should subscribe if you want to get notified when I do more lessons. Next question from Nitish. Hi, Bob. Of all the habits your students have, which one annoys you the most? So a little correction. Or which habit of all the habits of your students annoys you the most? I would say being late for class. Actually, that doesn't annoy me too much. I think lying is probably the most annoying thing. I do not enjoy it when students lie, especially if you see them do something and then you say, hey, come here, I need to talk to you. I saw you copying someone else's work. And if they say, no, I wasn't, that really bothers me. So I think the most annoying thing for me is when students lie to me, for sure. Let me check something here. So it looks like we're done. So that was the last question. There is one more question in the list, but it's not about the topic of pet peeves or annoying things, so I'm going to skip it. And what I'm just going to do is say thank you all for being here. Thanks for watching. Thank you for participating in this live lesson. You're all awesome. By the way, 2 things you should know. First of all, this lesson comes out again in 2 days, and I remove all the user questions. And it's really good listening practice to just listen to it again. It usually ends up being about 25 or 30 minutes long. So I remove all the questions. I make a new version of it. I put it online in 2 days. So when that comes out, it'll say lesson only version. Do listen to it again. You don't have to watch it necessarily, but do listen to it one more time just to reinforce what you have learned. The other thing I wanted to mention is there will be a live lesson tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will be probably doing it inside. The weather has turned quite bad here. It's been raining a lot. It's going to be sunny today, but it's supposed to rain again tomorrow and through the weekend. But there is another lesson. If your question was not answered today, ask it tomorrow at the next lesson, because that is an open topic. You can ask anything about the English language and I will answer it. A couple of other things. If you have not watched my most recent video, I'll put a link here in the description or in the chat. I did a video earlier this week. I think you'll enjoy it. You should watch it. It's about breaking through a plateau while you're learning English. And then also there is a new video out. I'll post it. Actually, Nightbot is posting it. There's 2 links in the chat right now. The second one is to my current small video from today. I do want to just finish by saying thank you to Dave and Todd for moderating the chat. Thank you to Sam, the Taiwanese, to Rachel, to Annette, to Lolly, to American English with this guy, Rod VIP, Norma, Panthera, Nori, Pavol, Madi. I'm just scrolling back and looking at all the names. Seo Wu, Madi again. Madi gets his name mentioned twice. Key Park, and all of you who are members, thank you so much for supporting me in the work I do. The more people that support me, the better I can create content. Okay, I can just do a better job. I have more time to plan. I have time to set up better equipment, etc., etc. As always, I'm going on, and I should just wrap this up. So 2 little English phrases for you there. When you go on, it means you keep doing something when you should be stopping. And when you wrap something up, it means that you end it. So bye, everyone. Have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. I'll see some of you tomorrow, but take some time to relax, spend some time with family and friends safely, at a distance for sure. And just bye. Yeah, see ya.